So this morning, it's another grey day. Real shame, and the wind hasn't really changed. We tried various angles to see if we could sail, and we managed some sailing, but the wind's moving really pretty straight at us now. If we wanted to, we could do that for the next 3 weeks, possibly get there.
No, we'd get back to the Anambas.
Yeah, we'd be back in the Anambas. So rather than trying to be clever and tacking and doing all that, we're just motoring now, because it's not too bad. The seas are not too heavy, maybe 1 metre waves, but they're coming straight at us, and so's the wind. So yeah, it's a bit of a slog, reaching 4 knots occasionally, but it's mostly under 4 knots. And then just now, 3 boats have seen nothing since we left Anambas, and then all of a sudden 3 on AIS, and we're all converging at the same time. But it's okay. They're going to overtake us on the starboard side, and the guy in front's already gone past us. So now we're just heading towards a little island between here and our final destination of Millie. And because it's such a slog, we thought we might just stop there. It looks quite nice. It's part of Indonesia. We have checked out, but we just anchor there, get a good night's kip, and according to most of the weather forecasts, the wind should die right down. So tomorrow we'll be motoring, but there won't be any wind against us, or possibly some wind behind us, in which case we might be able to sail. We'll find out.
Of course, the other reason for stopping at this place, having done all this motoring, is we might have to get more fuel.
Yeah, according to Andy Scott's Cruising Guide to Indonesia, they do fuel there. So might be an opportunity to top up on the fuel if we feel it's necessary.
So after a frustrating morning, we have actually stuck with our original route, but what's great is that this afternoon the sea state settled, the wind settled, and more importantly we're actually able to turn the engine off, turn the autopilot off, and just balance the sails. And I think this is probably worth discussing in more detail on a future date, how to balance the sails. It's very important to get the sails balanced right, even if you use an autopilot, because if your sails are balanced right, they strain on your autopilot. But there's nothing more satisfying than getting those sails set correctly, the wheel in the centre position, so there's no weather helm, and the boat just keeping a perfect course. It's finally, you've got a really good sailing. Hooray! So it's now 3:30 in the morning and we are approaching our destination. I just thought I'd do this piece to camera. I know I'm not in focus, but you can't see me, but the reason why I'm recording is just to show you the amount of lightning that we are seeing. There are 3 separate squalls surrounding us, one over off our starboard bow, and then one off our beam and one off our stern. And they've been flashing away furiously. They're all showing up on radar as well, so quite significant. Great sail we had this afternoon. It was really good, but we've just had to motor sail now because the wind had dropped away and it's actually now come around. So we were originally planning to anchor on the west side of this island, a nice open bay, but the wind is now blowing north, and we've already had 1 squall come through which came from the north. So what we're going to do now is to get inside the island where it's pretty protected, but it's quite a tricky little entrance, so hopefully by the time we get there we should have the beginning of the sunlight. I don't know how much we'll see of the sun though with all this cloud around. think this is one of the worst squalls I've been in a very long time. Although I don't know if you can classify it as a squall because there's no real wind. There's a bit of wind, but this thing is just remaining static. And we seem to be in the centre of it, despite the fact we are heading eastwards. I thought perhaps there was some southerly wind. I thought perhaps it would blow it away, but it's just continued to build and build. It's just getting bigger. I've measured it. It's a good 5 miles across, or at least that's what the radar says. Visibility, again, visibility was down to about 50 metres. I know it's about 50 metres because I was looking at the height of the mast, which is probably about 17, 18 metres from the deck, and I was imagining, you know, if the mast was laid forward, it was about 2 mast lengths. Visibility's improved a little now, but according to the radar, we're still in the centre of it. Well, we got a bit of a soaking. That was quite a big squall, and we just had to go through the middle of it. That is the first rain we have seen in, do you know what, I can't even remember the last time we saw rain. It was months ago. I hope this isn't a sign of the weather for the next few days, because it's horrible. The sea is green, not blue, and the sky is rather grey and dark. Got another one brewing, and it's right above the point that we're supposed to be turning in to the island, and it should be moving that way towards the island, so this is not ideal. Do not want to be navigating up that reefed channel with that above us, so I think I might turn to starboard and see if we can just sit it out. But this should be interesting. Visibility, it's okay. Seems to be another squall coming. The first thing we've got to look out for is a lateral marker, which I've just managed to identify. But it's pointless Liz being on the front conning us in, because the visibility in the water is appalling, as well as up there as well. So I'm going to get her to sit in the cockpit and follow on the satellite image. I've put waypoints in, and we're going to follow those waypoints. So I'm going to be outside going in, and she's going to be keeping an eye on us. Testing this, it's quite testing, but one of the things with these satellite images is that the reefs can look quite intimidating, but I measured distances between two of the narrowest channels, and it's about 200 metres wide, so there should be enough space. Famous last words, eh? Quite difficult to see the reefs in this visibility, but that one you can see quite clearly. It's green, just behind that buoy there. That one was a bit more difficult to see over there. But between the two of us, we're tackling this and we're doing all right. By the way, I apologise now for the dodgy camera work. We're on the waterproof camera, and of course it's wet, isn't it? So footage isn't going to be brilliant, but we're now just in the main channel, and we are catching the first glimpse of the little village here. Happy to say, most importantly, the sea state is flat calm.
This is the harbour of Serasan. It's still pissing down with rain. We've got big clouds all around, and it's still thundering, and we've had thunder and lightning for 15 hours now. Some people might say, why didn't you just go straight to Borneo? Well, the winds, the conditions and everything, we just wanted a break, and now it's this island, and there is this all-round protection in this great little harbour. So I'm having a whiskey, you're having a beer, and it's 8:30 in the morning.
Thoughts on the passage?
And the passage was like the curate's egg, good in parts. Some great sailing, some really lovely sailing at some points, but a fair amount of bashing into wind. Luckily we didn't have heavy wind, it didn't reach more than about 20 knots, and the waves weren't too high. But yeah, some of it was great, but some of it was just a bit tortuous. Last night was fairly tortuous after quite a good day's sail.
Cheers.
Lovely bun.
It's good to see Millie is helping her mum weigh anchor this morning. We just had a rest yesterday. Filled up the tanks, adjusted the fan belt as well because the engine was starting to develop a sort of very slight two-tone noise. And I checked the fan belt, a little bit loose, so I've tightened that. And just generally rested. Now it's a shame we didn't get to go ashore really, but we're going with the forecast, of course. And the forecast is light northwesterlies, and that's it. But of course I suspect we're going to get more of these squalls. And apparently even the guys in the Anambas 180 miles away were hit by those whiteouts that we got down here, so the weather has clearly changed.
So we spent a really comfortable night at anchor at Serasan in that great anchorage right in the middle in the harbour there. That was lovely, nice and refreshed. Off we go again. Raining, the sea's quite flat, we've got some quite light wind coming from the northwest. We've got to get round the island, and once we're round the island we can start making our way directly to Millie. We'll check the weather there, check the wind at that stage, and hopefully, even if it's quite light, we'll be able to get some sailing in. We know we've got plenty of fuel, so if needs be we will just have to motor all the way, but let's hope that doesn't happen. It's it's a grey day, 7 o'clock. And we're ready to go. Towards the end, Jamie just reminded me, we do end up going through quite a few oil fields and various obstacles which we'll have to negotiate when we get closer to Millie. But for most of the way it's fairly straightforward, and we're hoping there aren't going to be any huge containers and shipping lanes, but you never know.
Well, after an early and somewhat grim start in which the rain was so bad, we actually went on watch during the day, which we don't often do because the visibility dropped massively. But anyway, that cleared up, and so we continued to motor, and we got the sails out, so we were motor sailing, and now it is completely, I don't know, perfect sailing conditions actually, because a bit of cloud cover keeps it nice and cool. The sea is pretty flat, and we've got a nice beam reach. Now we've got quite a distance to do. We've got 170 odd miles to our first waypoint, and then 120 miles to Millie. What's very weird is that there is not one other vessel around at all. Last boat we saw was a fishing boat as we left Serasan this morning. No AIS targets, and as we approach the coast of Borneo, all the way along there is pretty much very, well, what I can see, very little on the coast. So yeah, we're on our own. Got no friends to play with. Of course that's all going to change, because when we get to the next waypoint, that's going to take us into the oil fields. Lots of oil fields and wells, and from what I understand, old wells that have been cut down, and we've got to keep an eye on those. And by law also we need to keep a good half-mile distance, so where possible we'll keep a good 2-mile distance. Well, first day is coming to a close, and I've treated myself to a haircut. As you may be able to hear, the engine is now on. We did a bit of sailing, but it put our average speed down, so we've been trying to work out a sort of average speed between the 2 waypoints, because Millie is on the Borneo coast, which has a shallow sort of ridge that runs all the way down it. So we have to come into Millie on a rising tide. So working backwards, we worked out that we have to be at our next waypoint at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. It's now 5 in the evening Thursday. So we did a few calculations and worked out we had to do an average of something like 4.2 knots or whatever. But we have had the sails fully out. We're on a sort of beam reach and the engine in low revs, which has meant that we've actually exceeded our average speed today, which is good because it's nice to have that extra time in hand for tomorrow for either a good sail at a slightly slower speed, or in case the weather turns shitty and we end up having to motor through slop. So yeah, that's all good. Liz just put the fishing rods away and didn't catch anything today, unfortunately, but that might explain why there are no fishing boats out here. Liz did see 2, but 2 in the whole day, that's all we've seen. It's completely desolate out here, nothing on AIS either. So there we go. It's actually been quite relaxing as well after our previous leg, which was quite hectic. It's nice just to chill out, do a bit of reading and pamper our cat, who's a little bit disappointed we didn't catch anything today.